welcome. I'm here with Eric for Eden Town Hall number 83. We're in period 143 of Eden Fractal. This is, I believe, the second to last event or second to last series of events in season 12. And today is July 2nd. Eric was just telling me some great updates about the things he's been up to with Impactful Giving. And I think we'll talk more about that now. I'm very much looking forward to hearing that, Eric, and yeah, feel free to jump in anytime. We can keep this pretty casual, but I'll also, I suppose, just share this little presentation to kind of set the scene for where we're at today. So today's actually 2 days before the United States 250th anniversary, which I thought was quite interesting, as the United States is often regarded for having, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, leading in many ways with the democratic innovations and so forth. So excited to be here on a fairly momentous occasion here at Eden Fractal on our 143rd event. And everybody can see, obviously, the tweets on the Eden Creators account that I'm showing on the screen, and edenfractal.com for anybody who's not familiar. This is where we are meeting at edentownhall.com right now. We're meeting at Eden Town Hall, working to advance the future of collaborative decision making and optimizing collective decision making and governance for all. And we just published the 4-year anniversary videos of Eden Fractal. We had a discussion with Minta Das reflecting on 4 years of Eden Fractal at the town hall, and then we had a great discussion at the Respect game afterwards. Of course, all those on YouTube on the Eden Creators channel, and then they're also on the video or on the videos pages for edentownhall.com and edenfractal.com. Eden Creators have put out this kind of informational message here. We're planning to have Sebastian join and share some thoughts about how fractal decision-making processes could help manage AI agents, systems, and communities, although he had some technical issues and I don't think he can make it today, so maybe we'll do that another time. And then it would also be nice, Eric, if you're up for it, to talk a little bit about the season finale and upcoming end of season break. If you're interested, we'd just be curious to hear your thoughts. We normally have a council meeting, but Das couldn't make it today either, he said, so we won't be able to approve any proposals according to the Eden Fractal consensus process, but that's okay. And I had put together some pages over here showing like how we could potentially meet for the remainder of season 12 and going into season 13, so we can go over that if we want. But also, Eric, I'm happy to go in whatever direction you'd like to, and you're sharing with me some updates about your work on the research project you're doing, and I believe I still get the name wrong sometimes, Creative Catalyst and Impactful
Career
Giving?
Catalyst.
Career Catalyst, but there's another C, right?
Career Catalyst, and it's a collaborative because we are not building a platform and telling people to use it. We're building a platform that allows people to collectively create and try and do things. And our job is just to manage the community, kind of tie it all together and make sure that people can do whatever they want, but it must fit the vision and be, altruistic, positive.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not making any value judgments on approving anybody's idea on whether something should be or not, because we never know. I've done enough innovation to know that somebody comes up with a crazy idea and a few years later, that's all everybody's doing. It's not a good idea to create value judgments on whether you think something's going to work, but you want to make sure that it's implemented in a way that works in a positive way.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for thanks for the insights there and the reintroduction to Career Catalyst Collaborative C3, connecting passionate professionals. I just found the website that you shared, careercatalystcollaborative.org.
Yep.
You shared it when you joined, I guess I was 2 or 4 weeks ago, when we had a more detailed discussion about this. And yeah, I was meaning to look into this site afterwards, and I had it open my tab, and then I got quite busy, and I haven't looked at it yet. So I'd be happy to go deeper into this if there's anything that we didn't discuss very much during the last time that you came. And if you'd like, we could dedicate the episode to what you're working on, or
just to refresh people, it is a collaborative platform that connects students, schools, and employers with real-world experience so that students get paid for their passion, schools can focus on employment, and employers gain the highly aligned, skilled new hires that they need. And so that's what it, and kind of at the core of this is this idea that it follows the Japanese Ikigai philosophy that you should live your life at the intersection of what are you passionate about, what can you be good at, what will you get paid for, and what does the world need?
Okay, excellent. Well, I love Ikigai. That's a great framework. I think we've discussed here, and a lot of people are familiar with. And yeah, the Career Catalyst Collaborative sounds great. And this is related to the work that you're doing with impactful giving, which I think I can also pull up as well. And we showed at a prior episode as well, because impactful giving is, I believe, the organization that you set up to help onboard nonprofits, and specifically like the leaders in the nonprofits, the directors, as well as the volunteers who are contributing to these nonprofits, and help them implement fractal decision making processes, basically, where you're finding the right messaging, as you explained last time, that shows how fractal decision making processes can help executive directors or other leaders at nonprofits, founders, and so forth, and then also communicating with the volunteers themselves, and explaining how fractal decision making processes such as communication circles, as you called it, you're obviously not calling it fractal decision making processes to them directly, because
Yeah, the contribution circles. Yeah,
yeah.
the basic idea is about adoption. There's resistance to when people have to think or act differently. There's always a pushback that, hey, wait a minute. So how do we take these new things we're doing and making it easier to adopt? We do that by giving steps that people are willing to go to. We can't say, oh, you want to make a change in your life? Okay, move to Costa Rica, change this, change your profession. For a lot of people, that's a lot. But if you can say, make a change here toward that goal, we're going. So, in talking to nonprofit leaders, they often tell me that they feel like they're carrying the whole load themselves. Nothing gets done unless they do it. And when they look for help, managing volunteers feels like more work, not less. So the idea is it's based on the fact that organizations, nonprofits, don't really have a volunteer challenge as much as they have a consistency challenge. How to get people with whatever time they have to show up consistently. Because people start strong, life gets busy, and good intentions fade. So, in order to get that consistency, volunteers don't really need more time because you only have the time you can give. You're not going to find more. So, it's not they need more time, they need a better way to show up. So, even if you have as little as an hour a month, you want that hour to feel something, feel like you're making an impact, feel like you're making a difference. It needs to feel good enough that you want to come back. So the way to do that is based on the work we've done in fractals, and it's a better way to show up. It's a way where volunteers are not just slave labor that gets told what to do. Volunteers are part of the engine that creates and grows. It's if you believe that people can be a significant growth engine for an organization, we have to empower them to do that. So contribution circles allow people to connect with as many other people and ideas as possible, and then engage with those you resonate with in any way that in the best way that fits. So maybe it fits that you just show up and give support, and people undervalue the value of somebody just showing up and saying, I'm listening, I support your idea. And then feedback. Good ideas come if you have a large pool of people that you can pull on to give you great ideas. And the next thing is collaborate with, just like you see happen here a lot, is somebody gets an idea and somebody says, I'd like to help with that. Can I join? The answer is yes, you can. You can go off and work together stuff. And you can even create, as we've done here, new or extended roles to fit in. So kind of a summary is it's not really a volunteer problem, it's a consistency problem. Consistency problem is because people don't need more time, they need a better way to show up. And the better way to show up is a way that allows people to connect with what they're passionate about and put it into play and make a difference, no matter how much time you have, whether it's large or small. Did I explain that okay?
Yeah, you explained it great. I think you've been getting your practice there, and some of this I've heard. So it seems like you're, I suppose, like teaching yourself the best ways to say and the best way to communicate. Actually,
Well,
as
it
you were
makes a
saying that,
difference. I mean, when I was trying to get people to onboard this, it took 3 months. A year ago, it took
mm-hmm,
3 months to go, what is this? That sounds kind of interesting to, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. We're all in.
mm-hmm,
So that took 3 minutes. Now I'm doing it sometimes in as little as 15 minutes to get an
mm-hmm,
organization involved. And then, well, how do you get the volunteers to want to portray in that? That took a lot of time, but we did an event and we recruited 35 people in like a week or so just
mm-hmm,
by helping them understand the value. So impactful giving's job is to help leaders launch a program, a system in as little as 8 weeks, which keeps volunteers showing up for each other so that the leader is not the system and the leader gets help they can count on. So there's the
mm-hmm.
consistency thing. So that's what impactful giving is, basically teach people how to get into the first level of, of engaging people into small groups, which another way of thinking about that is how do you get fractals going and working? And, we've done this successfully for several years to keep people show up, to do things. We've seen it work with pizza chains and art and gaming and music and uh, fitness and retail markets and personal development. But the challenge that we've had is explaining it to people and then having people that are technical enough to keep it going. And it works because there's always somebody in the room like you or Rosemary or Kadas, or a wide group of people we've had to go, oh, I'll help keep this going. And so most of the recent work was how do you do that without people having any understanding of technology at all? That's what I've been testing in the last part of the year, working with volunteers to actually come up with a way that you can run these things without somebody saying, well, how do I get this account and how do I log in and how do they do that? It just basically click on this link and you're ready to go. I can teach people to do this in as little as an hour, and 8 weeks is to build momentum. So really this is an adoption platform. And it's based kind of on the first level. Is the first level is get your people in order. The reason you want your people in order is for execution of whatever you're doing. The number one factor in successful execution is strategy. So it's really first level. Impactful giving is to get them into building the team and the culture, getting people to show up. The next level is where I see the big value of this group here with Eden, is to say, okay, if we can get people together, how do we get problem identification? What should we be working on? And what do people want to work? Collectively, what do we care about actually doing? And so that moves from getting people together to getting people to focus on what changes do we want to make? What are the key things we need to do? And from that, it moves on to decisions and solutions. Is okay, so how are we going to do these things? What are the ways to solve these problems? From that, you move on to then mission and strategy directions. So now you have direction driving your execution. And then the second reason that execution fails is friction. People try to do too many things. You have 90 days, let's do 90 things. And you can't hire somebody in an hour. You can't write code in an hour. You can't come up with new messages in an hour. So the key is how do you break these things up into the chunks? Your next bottleneck to work on, and how do you work on that together and direct it? And that can all be done with the idea of maximizing people, optimizing people and their passions through fractals. So even though we're not using that, it's just starts with what they want is, boy, do I need some help to, let's make some better decisions to let's move in from strategy to execution. So there's quite a lot of steps in that, and I hope that the Eden Fractal will be an ideal place to test some of these things out. I mean, Tadas, for example, has done a lot of work on thinking through these things, and our goal within the impactful giving is how do we make that adoption? How do we get it implemented? How do you get people to accept it and move it? What is the messaging? What are the steps? What is the interface like? So the average non-technical person can take advantage of these technical talents and abilities that a lot of our community is working on.
That makes absolute sense. Thank you for sharing the update. And yeah, it reminds me, one of the things that I've been working on a lot this week, I'm calling it a cooperating system, which has been this kind of combination of words that's been popping back into my head a lot over the past 5 years ago. I started thinking about it a lot when Eden first started happening, even before Eden Fractal started. And then more recently, over the past few months, I've been thinking about it a lot and worked on it quite a lot this week. And it deals with I mean, I agree. First, basically, you need to have people coming together and have something like the respect game or contribution circle where you're making it easy for people to join and contribute even if they don't have much time, and contribute in the way that they'd like to, and be in the place where they can talk and where they can figure out what they want to do, and have that space to be able to strategize and prioritize and execute, and so it provides that order, which is something we've had at Eden Fractal here for the past 4 years and going now. And we at Eden Fractal, Tadas, as you mentioned, he thought of firmament, which is this like independent infrastructure where we can collaborate on different things and vote on things and so forth that we discussed in past meetings. And he's also experimented with contribution requests and the respect trees and signature respect trees, where we would vote with our respect tokens on different things that we want people to do, like contribution requests, which is quite similar to what you're talking about with regards to the strategizing. And I think another word for that is also prioritization as well. And in this cooperating system that I'd been working on, I broke it down into like 3 stages or 3 pipelines. And the first one's about like transcribing and recording initial ideas, like basically having a discussion like this, or discussion with a contribution circle with a wider group of people, and having that place where you're already discussing, you already have people who are aligned and want to do something, but they don't know exactly what to prioritize. And then like transcribing that and getting really good with the AI tools to facilitate that. And I'm currently building a lot of this in Notion as well. Go ahead.
We are actually working on that too because impactful giving is for all organizations, and one of the organizations that's come out of that is the Career Catalyst Collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually the platform where we're practicing implementation, adoption, getting feedback. So while each job is to come up and put these things, impactful giving's job is to figure out how to make that acceptable to people and get it adopted. And the Career Catalyst is kind of our flagship, where we're actually putting that in there. So it becomes from Eden into Career Catalyst to the impactful giving, taking that lessons learned and saying, how do we do that for everybody?
Mm-hmm. So to be clear, you started both impactful giving and Career Catalyst Collaborative, is that right? And
that's correct.
Okay, and then
so what happened was, what I did was sought out nonprofit leaders and say, love to help you figure out how to get help in the way that you can use people as a growth engine. And starting with volunteers, even though, because that's where a lot of nonprofits start, it's really designed to bring in the whole paid people, the whole team. But we're just starting with volunteers at that idea. Um, and so one of the people was a student at UC San Diego who basically said, I show up at work, I show up, they said pick a major, which you don't really know enough to do. I think, sure, computer and AI, it sounds good. And then he said, then he's spending all his time in the computer building, which isn't a bad place, but they only teach you about software and things like that. And they go, well, it's not really helping me find my passion or teaching me where I want to work. I don't know anything about what to work and how to do it and all that kind of stuff. And he said, I would like to solve that problem through a nonprofit. And so he asked if he could talk with me because he liked my feedback. I said, sure. So we were talking pretty periodically, and he kept talking about this. I go, you're serious about this, aren't you? He goes, yeah, I am. And I said, okay. So I gave him something really hard to do. And the next week he did it. I went, okay, that's a good sign. So I gave him something even harder to do, and he did that. And then I said, if I give you something even harder to do, are you going to do it? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, let's do it together. So we started doing it together and building that. And I'm acting as a director now because he's a freshman in college, doesn't have a lot of experience with business, nonprofits. How do you talk to the mayor? He's not. So, he's got a very significant role, but the goal is to teach him to eventually take over to that. So basically, yeah, I helped him create, he wanted my help from impactful giving, and at the same time, I used my expertise and my position as a nonprofit to use that as a base to run that as a project under the nonprofit that I'm also part of. So, yeah, it just happens to be not only am I helping that through impactful giving, I'm helping build it. So I basically came up with a strategy and design, and then we recruited a really good chief technology officer to build the AI infrastructure back into the whole project.
Okay, so maybe let me just try to just make sure I'm understanding everything that's going on here, all the different pieces. So you and so impactful giving, I understand. Well, this is basically, I believe that this is a nonprofit itself.
It is not
It's
currently.
not. Okay, and so it's a
It
website
it
and a
may be
project. Okay.
it may be someday. I don't know. I haven't made that decision because it really came out of the impactful giving is just what comes out of my doctorate
Mm-hmm.
research. So that's it. It's just a container for my doctorate research. Where that becomes a nonprofit or a B Corp, I don't know. It just needs to make an impact and help people in the best possible way. I don't know if that is yet. So it's really just applying my doctorate research is what impactful
Mm-hmm.
giving is for, and that is just a project under the company that I have currently. So my company is doing these things, and one of the essentially products it does is impactful giving for the moment. Um, and
Oh,
then the Career Catalyst is a project under the 501(c)(3) that I'm currently uh, working on.
is that Aquillius Institute
Yes,
or the Aquillius
it's the
Foundation?
Aquillius Institute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm the director of community relations for the Aquillius Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm forming a project that fits one of our core things, which is workforce development. So the Career Catalyst right in under workforce development. So the Career Catalyst is a project under the 501(c)(3) that, and impactful giving is just an agent which helps that. And in addition to building that, we're building the infrastructure, the operating system, which lets a few people run a big group like we're talking about doing with the help of AI. And then the idea is we can do that methodology and help enroll people into that infrastructure, that operating system.
Okay.
So that
That,
operating system is under another organization, and Impactful Giving is another organization that are just helping the, we're giving our services for free to the Career Catalyst.
and the kind of operating system that you're developing. So you started Career Catalyst Collaborative as a project that is part of your work as the as a director at the Aquillius Institute, and it's aligned with the work. When you go to Aquillius.com, it says it's an innovation hub with co-working spaces to accelerate entrepreneurs. So if I remember correctly, there might be both a corporation and nonprofit with Aquillius. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah,
Um,
we have three arms. Job of Aquillius Institute is to be to be the place where a community of people with resources, strategic partnerships and capital, and education and experts. So, in other words, things, money, and people come together to accelerate innovation by helping people find and remove their next most important bottleneck as fast as possible. It's that execution we talked about, the
mhm.
friction where people don't know what to work on. And our job is just to say, what's holding you back? Is it that you don't have access to a bioreactor? Is it because you need a strategic partnership with capital? Do you need to learn something, or do you need Dan Singjoy to, consult with you or help you solve this problem? So is it a people problem? And so with that, there's actually three different arms of Aquilius. So with building this community of resources, we actually are a resource provider within that community. We are also a provider of strategic partnerships and capital, and we're a provider of execution and expertise. So it's different three revenue models. So the Aquilius Corporation, the innovation hub, that's a resource provider. It's kind of provides a base, a center of gravity where the communities like partnerships with lots of other organizations like TIE and Nucleate, TIE, Nucleate, things like that can come together to do this to remove friction when somebody needs resources. So that revenue model is if you buy or rent something from our providers, we may not get anything. We're okay with that. If you buy or rent something from us, like 10,000 gallons of deionized water or a workspace or something like that, whatever you need, we get paid. Then we also have Aquilius Ventures, which is our contribution to strategic partners and capital. And so, how do we get paid in that? Well, if we invest in you, we get equity, typically, something like that. But again, we're just part of this community of other people that invest. So, anytime we go to investment, we usually have lots of investors from all over the world, Italy, Canada, Japan, Australia, and companies from all over. And then the third model we're starting is the people model, which is education that nobody else is teaching and a system that connects people and experts. So if you need an expert in something or you're an expert who wants to help people, they can either pay you with um, money if you just got funded, or they can pay you with equity. And the model for that is if you buy one of our courses, if you take one of our courses, either we've found somebody to pay for it for you, some sponsors, or you pay some money, or we got a grant, something. So that's the nonprofit. The people side is the nonprofit.
and the
And
nonprofit side is the Aquillius Institute. So there's Aquillius Ventures, which does capital funding
yep,
and like kind of like venture funding basically. And then Aquillius Institute is a nonprofit side, which connects entrepreneurs, innovators, and so forth. And then there's the broader just Aquillius.
yeah, it's the Aquilius Innovation Hub, which
Yeah.
is run by the Aquilius Corporation. Of course, the Aquilius Corporation is the sponsor providing workspace and
Mm-hmm.
facilities to the Aquilius Ventures and the Aquilius Institute. So, example, my office at the Aquilius Institute is given by the Innovation Hub.
I remember one time we talked and you were walking around there too, I think, and you had a podcast coming up and you showed me the building looked very nice. And there's actually a tour over here
It's
too.
25,000 square foot, so yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Cool. And so then feel free to just keep going if you want to help educate me and our audience here. But maybe just to connect the dots. So you're working as the director. I don't remember exactly what the position was called, but it was director at the
Community relations.
director of community relations at the Aquillius Institute, which is working to bridge together innovation, entrepreneurship, and so Career Catalyst Collaborative is launched as an initiative with that institute, and this is also what you started with that freshman student, I believe,
Correct.
and you've been
So
collaborating
yeah,
here.
he's in charge of user interface and students.
Mm-hmm.
So he does he engages in student engagement and also user interface.
Yeah.
He's partnering with the students and the universities. And then we've got somebody in charge of events now, another student. We've got somebody in charge of the technology, and then I am putting it all together and doing outreach, large scale outreach, adoption strategy, things like that. And the key part is we're building um, some innovative technology to do that, to run the whole thing. And we're also building an Ikigai uh, AI that follows your whole life, that continually connects, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So we've actually built that agent of level one, and we're going to continue to develop that agent to follow you throughout your life. And then the rest of it is just to run all the projects as we connect all the pieces together. So we've got a event front end where people can schedule their own events. You can just schedule events as long as they fit the three pillars of helping students discover their passion, build a portfolio of work, prove, or belong by being part of whatever you are. If you want to be a veterinarian, you should be connecting with where veterinarians go, veterinarians people. You should have three prominent veterinarians, experts, or something in your speed dial. So it's that kind of thing. It's help them find what they want, help them develop those skills they can prove not from a resume point of view, but from a portfolio of actually work done, and then belong to that organization. And the key thing is nobody can do that together. There's a lot of programs that try and do the student piece, but they're just a band-aid. And there's a lot of programs that are trying to help people find their careers, like career offices, but people just are working on little pieces of that. And the employment problem, people are working on pieces of that, but not holistically. So we're working on all three of them holistically and working together. But the key is you can't do this alone. For example, when I talk, a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, I know a group that does it. They have this one program where they take a few students and they hook them up and they have some partners with companies." But then you take something like UC San Diego and you say, so how many people are in your career office? They may be good people, but there's not that many of them. How many companies do you have partnerships? Oh, we formed a partnership with 5 companies this year. More companies. So how many students you have? Oh, about 40,000. So you take 30 or 40,000. Do you think your companies you have can support 30 to 40,000? The answer is no. I mean, there's nobody. The point is, nobody can do this alone. Nobody has the resources to support, if you take 10 to 40,000 students at one university, now take everybody in the whole Southern California or even San Diego County area. There's nobody who can support all those with these little effort. So what we can do is for somebody that's trying to help somebody find their next passion, whether it's veterans or students, something like that, is we can make sure there's enough opportunities in there to help guide them to where they need to be. If we're all putting them in there, we're just making a community of people who are putting these opportunities in and making these successful. So Career Catalyst is a opportunity engine a platform, and then other people provide guidance or navigation platforms where it's I'm going to help you find your next career in blockchain. I'm going to help you find your next. It's like, so where do you get enough opportunities for people to find what they need to do to develop work skills and belong to that group is if everybody's putting those opportunities in there, then that's the only way we see that this can even be done. In other words, we're taking a problem that nobody so far can do alone. It's just too big a problem.
All right, thank you. Welcome back, Zaal. Eric has been sharing careercatalyst.org, or no, yes,
CatalystCollaborative.org.
yes, careercatalyst.collaborative.org. Thank you, as
I'd
well
love to
as
have careercatalyst.org, but obviously that was gone.
yes.
Or else we would have just been Career Catalyst.
Okay, well, yeah, Eric has been sharing careercatalyst.collaborative.org, and also how it relates to impactful giving and Aquillius, which are several different projects and entities that he's working on. And so, something I'd like to ask you, Eric. So you said that basically with this Career Catalyst Collaborative, you're working with the freshmen in college, and he also, I imagine, brings, in addition to the enthusiasm and energy, he brings this perspective as a student. Like you said, he wants to find out what he wants to do next, so he brings a good perspective about the students who want to connect with the employers and so forth, and figure out how to make things work with his Ikigai and how to get the right job and opportunity and career from there, and can collaborate and see the perspective of other students. And you explained your role in the organization, and you said that you also are working with another technical developer of some sort to help develop this AI system, as well as kind of the platform, which includes the event platform. And the bottom of the website, towards the bottom of the website, it says 2 ways that you can get involved, or volunteer to help build the platform and sign up at Impactful Giving. And so
Yeah, that's basically join our fractal, basically is what it is.
right.
Let's join the fractal and help us plan and build this thing. Or you just want to be a consumer of it. So, keep me up to date so that as we get new updates, you can sign up for things. You can do that. But
Right.
basically for Zaal, we view, Eden as our R&D platform. Career Catalyst is a test platform to actually test these things. And Impactful Giving is the adoption platform, which is help other organizations understand and adopt these things in ways that are usable.
Yeah.
Develop
And
the technology, test this technology in an real organizational framework, and then help other people do the same.
right. And so the Career Catalyst Collaborative is both, I suppose, achieving its mission or its purpose, specifically to connect students, schools, and employers through real-world experiences that reveal passion, build proof, and create relationships that lead to careers that truly fit, helping the students, the employers, and schools. And at the same time, it's also a place where you are developing the kinds of solutions that are often inspired or learned from Eden Fractal, and implementing these kinds of fractal decision-making processes, as well as platform that people can use for the events and anything else that's helpful for people to cooperate in this way with the fractal decision-making processes, and ultimately achieve the mission of Career Catalyst Collaborative.
Yeah, so basically, C3 Career Catalyst Collaborative is just an early adopter of the stuff that Eden comes up with, and Impactful Giving is just the agent which helps everybody else take advantage of that after we've kind of tested it.
Yeah, and so your work with Aquillius, or not Aquillius, Impactful Giving, you're also working with these other startups, or these other nonprofits like Startup San Diego and Thai Next Gen. I remember there's a couple other ones you mentioned previously as well. So basically, you're first testing these things at the Career Catalyst Collaborative, and then rolling it out to these other nonprofits after it's tested and working well in the Career Catalyst Collaborative. Is that right?
Yeah, so the one thing that we have adopted and tested has been our volunteer catalyst or volunteer growth engine. And so that just gets people to step in to say, I need help. I'm a nonprofit leader. I need help. I'm tired of doing everything my own. How do I get a system where the volunteers connect for each other and I'm not doing everything myself? Get me some help here. And how do I do that? And so, um, that's really what impactful giving is doing right now. It's just rolling what's available. And we have one fairly tested system of all the things we can do. We've got one. So that's what's available now. But the idea is we come up with more to be able to roll out most of those.
Mm-hmm. And the Career Catalyst Collaborative will be the place that you test that.
Correct.
And so basically you're hosting Fractal meetings in a way, or hosting contribution circles with Career Catalyst Collaborative, where people
we haven't yet.
Okay. But you're planning
We've got lots of people signed up, ready to go. And when I finish, the current work I'm doing, which has a deadline, so, as soon as that, we'll launch this. And we're also going to launch it with a build your own pizza party too. So for those local people,
Nice.
we'll be launching that. So we'll have a kickoff. We'll be doing events. We've had an event at the university, and we have somebody in charge of events, well connected, and get space and do all that stuff. So the nice thing is that because it was created out of university, we have at least one uni support. We have 3 more that are interested that we talked to.
Okay, very nice. Well, thank you for explaining this all. It's much clearer about how these different initiatives link together now for me. And yeah, I'm glad to see that you're engaging people in many different ways. The local pizza party sounds great, and making use of space like from the university, as well as the Aquillius Innovation Hub. Perhaps if you do events there, that can be great to help people learn about contribution circles or fractal decision-making processes, or I suppose whatever it's called in the messaging, as well as all the accompanying things that help people cooperate better, and both doing that on a local level as well as doing it with Career Catalyst Collaborative in this way that it's also solving a problem that I imagine a lot of people have, like a lot of students, like the student that you're working with, and employers and schools that can improve their lives directly, while also serving as a good test case and a good place to kind of like a sandbox to test out and try out integrating these innovations, the fractal decision making process and stuff like that, including things that we come up here at Eden Fractal. And we first test it here at Eden Fractal, then you can test it with people at Career Catalyst Collaborative, and then keep refining it, perhaps continue to integrate them into different tools with the developer you're working with, as well as with your AI agents that I know you've been building, the contribution circle apps that you've been building, and then eventually roll it out to different nonprofits with the impactful giving. And yeah, I think 4 weeks ago, whenever you joined, I remember you gave a more detailed deep dive into impactful giving, and I think we went through this page, or maybe I just read it afterwards, about how nonprofit leaders can get volunteers to show up, and you gave a great explanation of the problems that many nonprofit leaders are having, and the problems that many nonprofit volunteers are having, and how contribution circles and fractal decision-making processes more generally can help with that. And then as we continue to evolve and refine our work here at Eden Fractal to both develop the tools and the methods and all the research and development and education and so forth to help people better understand and implement and benefit from fractal decision-making processes, as well as the additional kinds of tools and methods in addition to just doing a contribution circle or playing a respect game, but rather having all the tools that go with that, like the on-chain software that DOS is building, and things like contribution or I suppose respect trees and all the different things that we're doing to help communities make decisions together once they've started to have these contribution circles, like all these higher order fractal decision making process in a way like councils and voting with respect to reputation tokens as well. That can all be integrated over time as it makes sense into places like the Career Catalyst Collaborative, and then eventually rolled out to other organizations. So with impactful giving, where you can onboard the nonprofit leaders and the volunteers and share with them both, have the original contribution circles can benefit from them and get them to benefit from that. And then as more tools and methods become available, then you can roll those out to more of these organizations and onboard them into becoming fractals, basically. So,
Yep. Yeah, I just find so, when everything is an offer. An offer is even like, why don't you join our fractal meeting next week? Everything is an offer. And, the three main pieces of that are it's got to be an obvious offer. What do I get? Confusing people. What is this? I don't understand it. So it has to be an obvious offer. And if you come here, here's what you'll get. But the second thing that's the toughest is it has to have internal resonance. There's what people say they want, and then you offer that on an intellectual basis, and they go, yeah, maybe later. There's usually something inside that's really what they want. Like the offer may be, the easiest mortgage to get or the lowest rate mortgage to get. And you can talk intellectually about mortgage, but what people are really saying, I wish I could afford the house that I want, or I wish I could afford my payments, or so there's something in there. And it took me a year to get the messaging right for organizations because it has to be with that internal resonance. It has to resonate with them. It has to resonate with you as the provider. Oh, I can see Dan would be that kind of guy who does that. So getting that internal resonance, and then you have to make it, an intuitive path. Oh, I get how to get it. So I get what it is. This is something I really feel emotionally that I want. We can go after all the intellectual reasons. Yeah, that's important. But the first conversation is really how do you get that emotional layer and then how do I get started? Oh, I click this thing, I do this, I use this app. And so getting all those three things is the real challenge is how do you get an offer that, oh, I want that and I see how what I get and oh, this really resonates with me and oh, you've made it easy for me to do. Yeah, I can do that. I can use your contribution circle app. That's easy.
well said. I agree.
So that's really what impactful giving is about. Is okay, we developed this stuff in Eden Fractal. We tested it with an organization to see how it really works in practice, and then it's like, okay, so how do we explain this and make it easy for everybody to use? And that's the impactful giving job is how do we turn this into offers with obvious path, internal resonance, and intuitive path, and obvious offer, internal resonance, and intuitive path.
Obvious offer,
Offer and internal resonance.
internal resonance, and internal resonance means that it makes sense for them internally. Basically, is that
Doesn't
how you
make
define it?
it doesn't make sense. It
Or,
resonates
or it's motivating, yeah,
because there's more to making sense than resonate.
because it's more to resonating than making sense. It has to both make
Like
sense, and then it has to be some sort of it has to motivate or enthuse them in some way.
like you became a husband and your first thing wasn't, well, intellectually this makes sense. Let me look at the plus and the cons and that factor. I mean, yeah, there was some of that as you started moving toward that thing, but the first thing was, hey, this resonates on a lot of levels.
Hmm.
So it's not just it makes sense. It you feel emotional about it. There's something that triggers that, some things you connect with and some things you don't.
Yep.
Or some things you kind of connect, but what you want is something that I go here because it feels right. It makes sense. It hits the core of where I am. And when I ask people what they want, they logically tell me this stuff, and then I repeat back to them and say, we can offer that. They shake their heads. And yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we can, and you can build on that, and in 3 months you can get them to get it to the point it resonates, or you can find what they really need to resonate first and hit that first. Like, why did I start the impactful giving? Is because people, what they logically told me is they want more funding, they want more and better services, they want lower operating costs. And that's completely true. And that's how I started. Would you like those things? Yes, because you told me you did. So that's what you told me you wanted. I have done tons of research. I know how to deliver that. I know how to prove it. Still took me 3 months to move them because that wasn't what they really cared about. But when I talked about, aren't you tired of doing this thing on your own with no help? Yes. Yes. Yes, I have. That's an emotional feeling. I feel always pressured. I wish somebody would help me. This is so hard. That's what resonated with them. The same thing as when I started Internet of Things company for 25-year kids. What they told me they wanted, for hospitality was revenue per available room, RevPAR, and customer experience. It turned out when they went to work in the morning, that wasn't the first thing they thought of. So with that resonant, we changed this developed a 30-second script, which went from 6% conversion for appointment setting to 96% conversion because we hit that resonant part. So it's, why people do stuff because they feel a certain way. So what are they really feeling? Not what makes sense logically. You're not going to go ahead if it doesn't make sense logically. But you didn't start by saying, hey, I met this person and logically this makes sense to me, so I'll explore it. You did it the other way around is, wow, there's something here that resonates. And then you added well, yeah, but does this make sense? So it turns out that you added the what makes sense after you said, there's something here that I just resonates with me. I really feel good about this. I want to explore this fact. And then you start saying, yeah, but does it make sense? So you got to hit that emotional trigger to open up the conversation to have the more intellectual thoughts process. You initially, a lot of people say, "Oh, I like that car," and then figure out logical reasons why they should buy it or shouldn't buy it. But you don't start by saying, "I'm looking for a car, so let's start with a." You may start with a detailed list of what you want, but at some point you see something and you go, "Yeah, that resonates. I kind of want that." Now let's see if it makes sense. Give me more information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very well said. It inspired me to look up the word resonate while you were speaking. And one meaning is to have particular meaning or importance to affect or appeal to someone in a personal or emotional way. And it reminded me of the meaning of resonance in terms of music too. Music can resonate throughout a hall, and it's kind of like bouncing off the walls to sound good and to have these harmonies and stuff. It's not just
Yeah,
like
but the key is you don't start by saying, let's look at the technical reason why people like music and why you like this music and write down all the music you like, and now let's go select music that way.
it
That
touches
may kind
people
of guide
deeply.
you in there, but you listen to music, go, I really like this. And so
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know what I like about it? I like the fact that it has a compelling chorus, and I like the fact that it does the key changes, and it's always surprising, and I like the way the orchestra, after you get that initial resonance, you resonate with it even more. You start adding more information into your thinking.
Yeah, it more so resonates with your spirit and perhaps with your soul in a way too. It speaks more deeply to you. And so, the kind of three-part thing that you mentioned was a very clear offer about how people can get involved,
Something I
or
want is I get what
yeah.
I get, and I
Mm-hmm.
want it.
And it needs to have internal resonance. It needs to be clearly simple or something simple for people to use it.
If I get this thing, this feels like what I need. Like, an offer, it's clear what you get. Resonate, I like what it delivers. That what you're talking about delivering to me on multiple levels, it feels like something I want to explore. And then, well, how easy is it to get?
Mm-hmm.
Because a
Right.
lot of people bail out if it's hard. We did this thing where we instead of saying here's a fixed price, we're going to save you money by using as a go, and here's these credits. And then people say, well, how many credits I need? Well, it depends on what you want. Well, how do I figure that out? You could just see sales start to stop because now it wasn't clear that, oh, I want it. Oh, this feels good to me. Let me hit the button. Let me pay for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Too complicated.
It reminds me a little bit of a talk that I just listened to from Steve Jobs this morning. It was just like a 2 minute clip that somebody had shared where basically at some point he talked about when printers, I think laser printers first came out in the early 80s. And there's somebody who asked a technical question about like why didn't you use this technical standard, and he had a great response saying, you know, that technical standard might be right and so forth, but really it's about giving the consumer or their customer exactly what they want and something that like just immediately appeals to them. And when those printers first came out at that time, people just understood it. Like they didn't need to know anything in more detail about how it worked and so forth. They could just see the immediate use for them and then hit the buy button. So,
Well,
I,
and if you're trying to get people to think or act differently, it's a bigger challenge. It makes that resonance and all those other things more important. You know, it's tough enough when it's just a new cereal like you've been buying for and just a little different. That's not, you're not really acting or thinking differently. And oh, this new thing you're offering resonates easy. But if you're saying, oh, I want you to find something that resonates with you, which you have to think or act differently to do,
mhm.
you want to minimize how differently they have to act.
And adopting a new habit too, or a new meeting. Like for example, people joining each week and learning lots of new ideas, like just about how, say, contribution circles or respect games or fractal decision-making processes work with councils and so forth. There is a lot of new ideas, so I think this is a very relevant.
But it has to start with that resonance. Like, well,
Mhm.
what is about this the conversation we have that resonates? Well, I think that work isn't as much fun. I don't feel like we communicate well, or I don't. It's looking through that whole past things that are all part of fractal and connection to say, well, what can we get people to resonate to get the adoption? So,
Mhm. Okay, well, I agree. I think this is good things for us to think about, and for everybody in the Eden Fractal community to think about, and probably people who you're collaborating with in the various projects and entities that you're working with them on, and things that we can work to make better tools and methods, better products, better services, better things that we're offering people clearly, make a very clear offer that are internally resonant for them and
yeah, so
inspiring.
there's kind of like R&D, there's kind of like integration and development, and then adoption.
Hmm.
So I just kind of just broke it up into three different things to get it done.
Hmm. Okay, well, sounds good. Thanks so much, Eric, for speaking with us and sharing all these thoughts. Do you have any other thoughts? We're 10 minutes past the town hall's scheduled ending. We can keep talking about this if you'd like. If there's anything else you'd like to share about Career Catalyst Collaborative or the the Aquillius Institute or Impactful Giving, then feel free to share. Or any other more general thoughts about how to implement these fractal decision making processes, how to get people to benefit from
Oh, it's
these
just nice
processes.
that the Aquillius who support, be that kind of place where some of this stuff can come together.
What was the last thing you said? You said it's nice of the Aquillius to
It's
support.
nice of the Aquiliate. I
Yep.
think the Aquilius innovation hub for being a great host to allow a lot of this stuff to come together
Yeah.
at these early stages.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the Aquillius Institute as well as everybody involved with the
And by the way, they're the
Aquillius
benefit
supporting
of some of
this.
this technology we're building for Career Catalyst. Yeah, we're letting the Aquilius Institute use it. That we're helping develop that with the Aquilius Institute as a user of some of these services.
Hmm. Okay, very nice. Well, yeah, shout out and thanks to the Aquillius Institute and the various branches of the Aquillius ecosystem. People can learn more about Aquillius at aquillius.com, Aquillius.com, and from there you can find the institute and the ventures and everything else going on there. And big thanks, Eric, for sharing your work both with Aquillius as well as with Impactful Giving and Career Catalyst Collaborative. I'm really excited about the direction you go in here, and I'm excited about your work in implementing these, and also about the research that you're concluding with the Academy. And it's always great to hear updates, and I get more and more excited about it every time I hear more about it, and now I have a much better understanding it too. So you really appreciate you working on this and sharing it with us here at Eden Fractal.
Quite welcome. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Eric. Do you want to play a respect game? It's just the two of us, so...
It's just the two of us. We don't need to do that. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. Hey y'all, this is Dan Singdre again, providing a conclusion to this event. So Eric and I decided not to play a respect game. It was just the two of us, and we figured that we'd postpone the next game until our next event on July 16th, 2026. So I just put out this post in Telegram. I'm recording this like a half hour after we concluded the meeting. We had another just great discussion, Eric and I, off the recording. And obviously we'll be publishing this video that is part of the town hall. And then, yeah, if you go to the Eden Fractal Telegram group, then you'll see that I wrote that. Since we didn't play a respect game today, we're still in the same period of Eden Fractal, and we will meet for our 143rd respect game in 2 weeks on July 16th. And then we will also probably have our 12th and final event of season 12, that on July 30th. So we'll have just about another month before the end of the season, which will give us 2 more sets of events this season and more time to discuss scheduling and upcoming summer break and so forth. No new delegates were elected today because we didn't play a respect game, so the existing Eden plus Fractal Council, which is composed of Sadas and I, will be able to propose and approve proposals at the next event in 2 weeks. So special thanks to Eric for sharing the great presentation and the fascinating work that he's doing today. I'm excited for everybody to see this and curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks to Zaal for joining as well, and I'm excited to everyone to listen to the discussion as well as for the next event on July 16th and to conclude the season. As always, everyone's welcome to share any thoughts in the Telegram group throughout the week too. All right, thanks all, and see you next time, and go Eden Fractal!